Welcome to the course on the golden moments of addictions, alcoholism, and 3 principles webinar series. Welcome to the 5th episode of our webinar series, the golden moments that we have cut and for your delight. So far, we have highlighted 4 outstanding features of our successful webinar series. That is Sydney Banks, 4 remarkable recovery stories, tips on the wisdom of teaching 3 principles and addiction, and then guest participation with their insights. Now, we are going to highlight in the next couple of episodes the guests that we have had on our show. And to start with this episode, we have 2 of our most popular guests, Dr. Dicken and Dr. Aaron Turner. Sit back, relax, and have a good time. Thank you very much.
You come into the world a human being, and we start off as beings who have a human body that allows us to experience our beingness. And then gradually we develop our conceptual mind, and more we start having thoughts and ideas and experiences, and it's a very important stage of development. Very important to develop the ability to have ideas and concepts is very helpful. To develop our intellect is to develop this beautiful computer that we're given that we can utilize for the rest of our lives, to analyze, to process information, to store information. But it's just a tool. As Sid would remind us over and over again, it's a tool that we either use wisely or unwisely. And I see this as very, very innocent. As we get older, we start more and more identifying, I am what I think and I am what I feel. So if you have a thought that creates a feeling of tension, pretty soon you start saying, I don't like this. I could feel better. I'll feel better in the future. So now all of a sudden we're in time. We're waiting for a better future. We're looking for a better future. We're looking for something that will help us feel better. It's all very innocent. And then more and more we say, well, I am unhappy, rather than I'm just being. And unhappiness is a thought that comes and goes, or a feeling that comes and goes. So we start to identify with content as self, and that's suffering. That's suffering. And in those moments, when we fall out of our conceptual mind, and it happens to everybody I know, when we fall out of our conceptual mind, for a minute, we're free of the limitation of anything we're thinking. We're just being. And being is vast and infinite. Some people say that's the spiritual dimension of our being. It's formless. It's wide open. It's pure energy. It's not even wall-to-wall energy, because there are no walls to energy. There are no boundaries. It's infinite. Sometimes Sid would say, step back into infinity. I had no idea what he meant for a long time, because I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to think about what that meant, rather than, as Sid would say, you have to, if you want to discover the truth of who you are, if you want to discover your true self, you have to be able to go beyond all concepts. All concepts, all ideas. So we say, don't listen to the words, don't listen to my words. Just relax that whole project of trying to figure stuff out and think about it, because no one can analyze their way to truth. Right? And then you have a moment where you just disengage from your intellect and you fall into the now. And you touch that space and it's wide open. It's just being. You've come home. And as Sid promised over and over again, but I had to find out for myself if it was true. If you can go one little step beyond your precious thought system, you'll touch a space that just feels relaxed and open and all-inclusive, and it will always, it must create something beautiful in your experience. Your feeling starts to open up rather than close, and that feels good. It's a nice feeling. And in that openness, in that wide openness, you are living in fresh thinking. So you get new thoughts and new ideas. You become more responsive, more creative, more motivated, more inspired, more uplifted, more understanding. Without effort, freely given to us as a gift. And more we begin to remember our true self as just this vast, ordinary, natural beingness that everything comes and goes in. That everything comes and goes in. Everything. All of our thoughts, all of our feelings, all of our perceptions come and go. Who we are is not what comes and goes. Who we are is the space in which all of that is coming and going. To experience that sets you free. To experience that is the cure for addiction. I'm convinced. I've seen it. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in other people. It's the cure. The experience of our being. A certain trying to understand, or they become addicted to a certain way of thinking or a certain idea or a certain belief. And sometimes people say before people become addicted to substances, they become addicted to or caught up in or identified with their own personal thinking. It becomes personal. It becomes egocentric. It becomes about me. When we fall wide open, the personal mind goes to sleep. That's how Sid defined meditation. Our natural state is meditative. When our personal mind goes.
my mind, it's like you got to consider the source. So I don't see anything that's relevant other than the level of well-being and clarity you come from in the moment. That tells you everything you need to know about what comes out of it. I don't think anything else is relevant. And I think that if that's true, or when I've seen that that's true, I don't, now this is me personally, okay? I don't see any reason to think about behavior. I really don't. I don't see any reason to think about behavior, because behavior is the tail end of the quality of thought that you acted on in the first place. Most people think, oh, if a deeper mind is a clearer mind, I should be clearing my mind. I should be not thinking, right? Well, again, that's just something extra to think about and worry about. Actually, what I've found is that the more that you become okay with thought in a way that it becomes unremarkable, you drift in the right direction. It's the opposite. It's like getting comfortable with the fact of thought, with the fact of all kinds of thought. Like, who's afraid of the big bad thought? I had a thought. Oh no, don't tell anyone, you know? And you go in that direction. See, that's a direction. You can go in a direction of intervention, which is, what am I going to do about my thought? And you can go in a direction of understanding, which is, why is thought such a big deal? It's just a moment to moment flash in the bucket. And it's this direction of perspective that is going to affect your experience of your experience. That's going to affect your grounding. See, and in my mind, that's what the principle is about. It's like a big picture. Hey, do you know that this is all just thought? None of it's ever going to hurt you, but it will feel dangerous and scary and whatnot. But that's a feeling of the energy of mind. And guess what? That's always there. So you don't need to worry about that. And as human beings, we over-personalize, we over-serious, we over-focus. You know, we're like, how am I doing now? Well, fine if you weren't thinking, how am I doing now? You know? and then you realize, actually, if it is thought, I'm okay. Like Greg said, I'm okay even when I feel depressed. I am actually okay. But for the fact that I freak out, and freak out's not something wrong with me. It's me thinking there's something wrong with me. Okay. So it's that, and it's tricky because it's very logical to think, oh, I've got to do something about thought. I've got to do something different with thought. I've got to have a clearer mind. No, it's just more perspective that it is thought, and that it is all mind, and that there's nothing up. It's just the principles in play. Beautiful description of how thought changes, of how our minds change. See, so like you get in a new feeling, you really like it, and then you can have an insecure thought, and in that insecure thought you go from feeling so grounded and comfortable and you're so grateful to be in a lovely feeling to having the experience of feeling like you don't want to be in it. But if you look at the feeling change, you've gone from content to uncomfortable. You can't have a change of feeling without a change of thought. You've gone from an unconditionally comfortable thought to an uncomfortable thought. And now that information tells you, oh, your thought changed from, I don't know, what I would call clear to distorted. But if you think the information's in the thought, then you're all discombobulated. It's like, oh yeah, I don't like feeling good. No, in the I don't feel good thought, you think you don't like it, but a minute before you loved it. reason the principles are so helpful is because they help us to consider unchangeable fundamentals that we wouldn't otherwise see, right? So if you look at in human perception and in reality, okay? So in human perception, and this is true for everybody I've ever talked to, and including myself, there are many things that are just like, it's a no-brainer, that's just thought, it's neutral, it's meaningless, whatever. And then there are things that are like, no, that is serious, meaningful, more than thought, blah, 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 right? And everybody has that. That's the way individual human beings react to what they feel. Some of it they realize is illusory, and some of it they do not realize is illusory, and they basically misread their consciousness. So when their consciousness tells them their level of clarity, they misread it as telling them about something real, right? I really want that cake, right? You with me so far? So
Was it the last thing that it's your
well, in other words,
misread?
yeah. So when you have a thought that you know is a thought, you know that everything you're experiencing is just a symptom of that thought, right? So for example, if I freak out about being late, I know I'm just experiencing the fact that I'm stressing about being late. It's got nothing to do with whether I'm actually going to be late. Are you and me? Okay.
Yes.
Whereas there are other thoughts that I'm not as aware of their made up nature, and so I take them to be real. And you described that with the cake, okay? So I'm just reframing what you're saying. Now, outside of that, there is a fact. That's what the principles point to. And that fact is you are experiencing the energy and potential of mind through the moment-to-moment formulation of thought as if it's coming from the outside, right? Now, what that gives you is when you look at your experience and you say, well, all that's definitely thought and all that's friggin' real, and at best case scenario is really strong thought. That's like thought on steroids, right? The power of the principles is no, can't be, not true. You might think that, but you're wrong. It's all the same thought creating a illusion of perception and emotion, etc., etc. And that principle allows you to seriously consider something that's counterintuitive to you. And the way I think about it, and this is a disgusting analogy, okay?
Okay.
When people get tumbled in an avalanche and they're covered in snow, they have no idea which way is up or down. And one of the dangerous things is if they use their sense of it, which is confused, they can tunnel themselves further down into the snow and die. And you need an objective measure. So you spit or pee, because your spit or pee will never go up. It will only ever go down. And so no matter what you think, no matter what your opinion is, you dig the opposite way of your pee. Right? Now, the principles is that objective measure. It's always mind, which is always formless, in the form of a thought. That's always temporary. That's always nothing more than a thought. That always feels like it's realer than it really is. Boom. Always. And that's the power of it. Is if you say, well, it's always in 99.99990%, that 0.001.9 is gonna eat you every day because you've put it off. It's allowed to be something it's not.